Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing my review to Shazam. And it was surprisingly really good. And I say surprisingly because I would say before Wonder Woman, I wasn't super impressed with anything DC was doing. I will say I loved Wonder Woman, though. I also loved Aquaman. I thought they were both well done. And so coming into this one, I had some expectations, I suppose. More so than I would normally have for a DC movie. Added to it the fact that it was directed by David F. Sandberg, who directed a couple horror movies that I really like. I don't know if you've seen Lights Out or Annabelle Creation. He directed both of those, did a really good job, and did a really good job with this movie as well. There's a couple different points I want to go into about this movie. Firstly, the story for it. In prior DC movies, the tone it had a pretty dark tone, but for this one at least, it definitely gave it more of a heartfelt story, and it was more lighthearted than any other DC movie, which really made it appealing, at least to me. There is something to be said about the way that Marvel has created their universe, and all their movies have a sense of humor. And that's something that was really missing from DC for quite a while there, to the point where it seemed like they just took themselves a little bit too seriously, and that allowed Marvel to really take a stranglehold over the superhero genre in movies. And the way they used humor in their movies made the audience feel like they were having, more fun with it than something, movies like the DC movies that took themselves pretty seriously. Adding to the fact that the story was, it was a superhero story, origin story, so there are some cliches that came with it, but adding to the fact that the story was good was how funny this movie was. This movie was so hilarious at parts, and I went to see it the very first showing at the theater that I went to, and there were probably 3 or 4 times during the movie where literally every single person sitting in their seat in that theater just was cracking up, hilariously laughing so much, because there were a couple parts in this movie that just made your stomach ache because you were just laughing so hard. And that's a credit to the writing, the script, and also to the acting to sell those funny moments. And it was really well done. Now, as I said, there are some moments in this movie, because it's a superhero origin story, where it was a little bit cliche and not the most. It took a little bit of time, in my opinion, for the story to really get going. But once it got going, it was really well done. Just a little bit slow at the beginning, but I think that's kind of the way it is with a lot of superhero origin stories. It takes a little while for it to get its stride and begin to entertain the audience. But overall, the movie was really good, and I was very happy with the way Zachary Levi portrayed Shazam. Obviously he had his very funny moments, but he also, because he's actually, so basically Billy Batson is the name of this 14-year-old kid, and he gets these powers so that basically when he says Shazam, he turns into the most perfect form of himself, which is portrayed by Zachary Levi. But the way Zachary Levi portrayed the character made it convinced you that he was still 14, even though he was a full-grown adult, which was very surprisingly well done. And kudos to him for doing that, because I don't know how old Zachary Levi is, but he's got to be in at least his 30s, right? And he convinced me that he was still 14, even though he's, in his 30s. So really enjoyed his performance. I thought Mark Strong did a really good job as well, playing the villain in this superhero movie. And, he's just got that villain face. He's played villains quite a few times throughout his career, and he's one of those people that's just got that face that he plays a good villain. It's kind of like Willem Dafoe. I mean, up until Aquaman, which Willem Dafoe is in Aquaman, I do not know a single movie where he was a good guy, just because he's got that face. But Mark Strong, really, really well done as well. I will say, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the climax of this movie was very surprising, but really, really, really awesome way to bring everything together at the end of this movie, as well as the very end of the movie, where there's a superhero cameo, which is pretty exciting, hopefully moving forward with at least this franchise and maybe the DC universe altogether, or whatever they're calling it, the DCEU. I don't know what they're calling it, but the DC film franchise. So overall, I'd probably give this movie 9 out of 10. It was really that good, and I would recommend seeing it for anyone who was thinking about seeing it or who needs some convincing to go see it. This is the DC movie that I think you really need to see, because it's a lot of fun, really entertaining, not too dark, and keeps you engaged throughout the entire length of the film. So, alright guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.